It's an undiscussed reality that we all have thoughts that we would rather keep in our heads. Perhaps some of us even have some secrets that are best suited only to keeping us up at night. Which brings me to Veritaserum, a potion that's probably one of the most dangerous in existence. According to Severus Snape, merely 3 drops would have you gushing your innermost thoughts and secrets and feelings to whoever is closest to you. But surely in the direst of moments, the need of the ministry in terms of court proceedings maybe overrule the privacy of a few. If so, why is it left unused in our moments of greatest need? Today on Magical Theory, we discuss, why is Veritaserum used so rarely in the story? Veritaserum is a potion that functions as a powerful truth serum, which is visually indistinguishable from water. It is tasteless, odorless, making it all the more dangerous as it can be mixed with anything. It is Veritaserum. I can't do this, Snape. Let me try again. It is Veritaserum. I gotta remember what the Potter Puppet Pal's voice was. I'm not gonna do this to you all. You can see it on the screen. The necessary dosage is also incredibly small, allowing a large batch to be stretched quite a long way, unless you are, of course, Dolores Umbridge, who dumped Snape's entire lost bottle of the potion into the teapot she attempted to use on Harry. Thankfully, on that occasion, Harry had the presence of mind to pantomime drinking the tea rather than actually taking a sip of it, though part of me does wonder what would have happened with a dose like that. Can you overdose on magical potions? He surely would have been sent to St. Mungo's, though I suppose too much theorizing on this would probably be a separate video. Back on topic, I do encounter people asking variations of the same question quite often. Why did Sirius not take Veritaserum prior to his imprisonment to prove his innocence, or sometime after his escape? Why would Fudge not offer Harry Veritaserum during his improper use of magic trial to prove the truth of the circumstances leading up to his out-of-school Patronus? Why was it seemingly not used in any of the Death Eater trials or in the Fantastic Beasts movies during any part of the running for Supreme Mugwump, or to question the loyalty of Voldemort's Death Eaters like Snape? There are so many cases where it seems like an utter oversight not to brew up any Veritaserum, and yet the only time we get to see the potion used in any on-page scenes successfully is Dumbledore, of all people, feeding it to Barty Crouch Jr. What gives? Let's start by addressing why Veritaserum may not have been used in some of these situations, then we'll examine some of the finer, I think less widely understood aspects of the potion. Regarding Sirius proving his innocence, I think there was never a real opportunity. As we know from the story, Sirius was not given a trial, and he had little sanity to his name in the moments prior to his arrest to arrange any sort of public Veritaserum consumption. And honestly, even if he managed to drink some in front of any authority figure, we need to be real about Sirius's truth-telling capabilities. The amount of times he unintentionally makes himself sound extremely guilty in front of other people is agonizing. Sirius is my personal favorite character, but in Prisoner of Azkaban, he just sits there being accused by Harry of killing his parents, and all he says to defend himself are unhelpful statements along the lines of, "I may as well have killed them, and I don't deny it." You should deny it, Sirius, because you're not guilty. When Lupin shows up to the Shrieking Shack, say that 5 times fast, he basically just hugs Sirius and tells him to shut up so he can explain the story to the kids properly. Even Dumbledore tells the Golden Trio that no one would believe he's innocent during that time period because he hasn't behaved like an innocent man. You think? It really does go to show that Sirius sees himself as a guilty man, or at the very least, a hopeless case. He doesn't try to defend himself because he seems to genuinely believe that no one would ever believe him anyway, so he may as well at least kill Peter as a final vengeance for Lily and James before losing his mind or receiving a Dementor's kiss. From start to finish, Sirius's life just sucks, and then Harry has the gall to wonder why Sirius won't come back as a ghost? Really, Harry? As for Fudge not offering Harry Veritaserum during his trial, or Barty Crouch Sr. offering it to convicted Death Eaters during their trials, I believe the reason is the same. Fudge and Barty Crouch Sr. had made up their minds about the guilt of the accused before the trials even happened. Barty Crouch Sr. at least seemed to usually be right about the people he suspected, Sirius being, I think, the only real known exception, which is impressive to think about. But Fudge is kind of just a cartoon judge during Harry's trial. He changes the time of the trial last moment in hopes that Harry and especially Dumbledore won't show, and when Dumbledore does show up, obviously, and offer a witness to the Dementor attack, Fudge just says, "Oh, I don't have time to listen to all that." But that's the whole point of a trial. How long could it take? What do you mean you don't have time? And when Miss Fig does give her account of what happened, Fudge just says, "Not a very convincing witness." How? Based on what? Also, you have a jury system for this. You can't just decide that a witness was no good. You're intentionally leading them on. And when he tries to bring up Dobby's levitation charm right before Harry's second year and Dumbledore offers to summon Dobby to give testimony, Fudge says, "I haven't got time to listen to house elves." But you do! The time is what's happening right now. Dumbledore says he can have Dobby there in an instant. How could you not have time? Fudge clearly either was confident enough in Harry's guilt to not need to worry about Veritaserum, or he feared the instability Harry's story could cause too much to allow him to keep talking to the magical world about it, or both. I mean, the book says as much. And in the case of Voldemort questioning the loyalty of his Death Eaters, I honestly just think he was confident in his legitimacy abilities. We see time and time again that Voldemort is unwilling to question his own capabilities, so his disinterest in the potion isn't honestly surprising to me. This is also not to mention that we know you-know-who is not exactly above loosening some tongues with a Crucio spell or having an underling like Malfoy do it for him. But as effective as Veritaserum appears to be in the scene with Barty Crouch Jr., I think there are a few reasons why it wouldn't or even shouldn't be used. First off, and this is fairly rudimentary, Veritaserum is kind of a pain in the butt to brew. We don't see students slated to learn the recipe until 6th year, past the point of OWLs, which alone indicates its complexity. Snape also mentions to Umbridge that the brewing process takes a full moon cycle, meaning that it's a month-long process at least. I'm curious to know how much babysitting the process requires as well, but sadly we don't have that information. My second point comes from a website that appears to be an archive of an old website owned by J.K. Rowling herself. The site contains text from web pages posted while the author was still underway in the writing process. Some of the posts are fascinating, containing extra information about characters that never made it into the books, and a handful of FAQs. Check the description for the link and check it out yourselves. Really interesting information about Dean Thomas's backstory. I can't 100% claim its legitimacy because it is just sort of like a website dump of an old website that allegedly existed, but it appears to be cited by other reputable fan pages, so I'm going out on a limb and supposing that it's real. On the site, Rowling explains while powerful, Veritaserum is at its most effective when the imbiber is not aware that they have been duped into drinking it. This explains why Barty Crouch Jr. was so susceptible to the effects of the potion, as he'd just been blasted against a wall by none other than Professors Dumbledore, Snape, and McGonagall, 3 individuals I would not wish to cross. He was fed the potion while unconscious and only had just been revived by Dumbledore with an enervate spell, and thus had little means of defending himself or even knowing that he had effectively been drugged. I will say, not Dumbledore's finest hour doing that, but perhaps it was for the greater good. Is that cruel to say? Rowling goes on to say that occlumency is effective against the spell, and a skilled witch or wizard could even non-verbally, and perhaps even wandlessly, transfigure the potion into something else subtly just before drinking it. In effect, different individuals are more susceptible to it than others based on their skill level and quick thinking, which makes it not an entirely fair method of interrogation. Another interesting tidbit that throws doubt onto the usefulness of the potion comes from a brief still from the Half-Blood Prince movie in which a panel from the Daily Prophet reads, "Breaking news, Rosenfeld Case falls apart, Veritaserum tainted?" I can't find information anywhere else on what the Rosenfeld case refers to outside of an obscure U.S. Court Appeals case from 1996 regarding an art deal gone wrong, which the year does seem to be correct for that, but none of what I read seems like it would have served as inspiration for this bit of movie trivia. I do, however, think the possible tainting of the potion is another interesting problem for its use in court. Even in cases where Veritaserum isn't tainted, but people believe that it is, a plaintiff or defendant's ability to convince a jury that a potion that was used may have been tainted circumvents its reliability as an end-all be-all for jurisdiction, especially when it's already been drunk and cannot be otherwise examined. It's already done. Lastly, I proposed a bit of my own theory crafting. I believe that Veritaserum can only force the drinker to spout information that they believe to be true, regardless of whether or not it is true. Why would that matter? I may not have the best memory in the world, but I do feel like misremembering details of a past situation is kind of a universal experience. Think how damaging that could be on the witness stand when Veritaserum is seen as such an absolute device for truth. One of the best lessons I've learned in my 34 years of life is that most things are a little more complicated than they seem. Nothing really is black and white. And I think that's the lesson that you can really apply to anything. Humans, at the end of the day, are an unpredictable bunch of chimps, and we can complicate just about anything and make anything not black and white, even something as simple as Veritaserum, truth or untruth. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hopefully it grants some clarity around an often discussed plot hole, which personally I don't think is much of a plot hole. As always, I've been Riley. You've been watching Magical Theory. Have a magical day.